Okay, Dad, what have you done here in the last little bit?
Okay, these uh, these switches were all wrecked.
How were they wrecked?
Burnt out. The wiring, the screws are loose, and then the wiring burns.
Okay.
And I mounted the RPM gauge. I had to make this little block so that it's sitting on a right angle to read it.
Okay.
And then I put the controller in here today for the power steering.
Okay.
This is all wired in now.
Wiring looks a lot cleaner, that's for sure.
Yeah, I got a little bit to do, yeah.
Okay.
And this is the T-bar here that has to be hooked up now. This cable runs to the shifter, and that one goes back to the transmission. So I gotta cut this off tomorrow and put a 1/4 inch threaded rod on there so that I can adjust it. And I'll cut this off, cut this thing off.
Okay.
And I just talked to Eric. So
That's the one.
we're gonna get a plate of steel and put it underneath here to cover this rotted out chunk, eh?
So what's the thickness on that plate of steel are you going to go with?
Well, this was about 20 gauge, so I'm gonna put 1/8 in there.
Are you going to be able to screw that in, or are you going to weld it in? What are you going to do?
Weld it from underneath.
Okay.
Jack it up and weld it. Then I gotta take this bolt out.
What's that bolt for?
Well, that's what the lever, the gas pedal and the clutch and the
Yeah.
brake works on. I only need one, but I'll take that bolt out and clean up this shaft here and put another pedal in for the brake.
Okay, do we have spare pedals, or?
Yeah, I'll take one off of that one because I'm not using it.
Okay.
So this is all wired in. Then once I got things cleaned up here, can you see right there the bottom of my stick? Right there?
Yeah.
That's oil. So I gotta change the seal on the diff.
Oh yeah, right there. Okay, yeah. See that one drop of oil there? Yeah.
And it's been wiped up once already.
Okay. So what's a seal like that cost?
I don't know, probably $50 or so.
But then how many hours of labor to do that?
Oh, it's not bad.
Okay. So what happens if you don't change that seal?
Well, then it'll leak, and if the boys aren't on top of it and keep adding or checking, you'll burn the diff out.
So where would they check the differential oil on this thing?
Right there is the plug for adding or putting your finger in to see. Oh, it should be about halfway. Eh?
Okay. So what weight of oil is that? Is it like 80, 90 or?
Well, we use 75, 80 in the winter because it gets 40 below. Eh?
Okay.
And first thing in the morning,
So have you checked that oil yet on that
yeah,
diff?
it's down.
So, but like, what's the condition of it? Is it good?
Well, I don't know. We'll drain it.
Okay.
Somebody had taken the cover off and drained it. You see that red gasket material?
So is that what you're going to do, is take that off? Or?
I'll take that off, clean it up.
Okay.
But all I really have to do is just take the pinion nut out after I take the drive shaft off and pull it out and change the seal.
Okay, it's all the little things.
And then now all the wiring is done for the RPM gauge. So you have to go back here now.
Okay. All right.
And before they fooled around with this engine, it had a coil in there, about there, eh?
Okay.
But now there is no coil, so I gotta pull this off because I can't see if there's a plug-in.
What is that?
That's the new coil, eh?
Okay.
With this electronic. I'm hoping that there's a plug-in for the RPM there. If not, well then back to the drawing board.
Okay. Okay.
So that's about it for today.
Any So what's with the pointing stick? We've gone back to that. We haven't used it in like a year.
My friend Steve
Yeah.
wants me to use a pointing stick because
Okay.
then you can point right at where the problem is.
Okay.
Like for instance, when we go put everything together, we're going to use brass battery clamps
Okay.
because these lead battery clamps
Or no good.
are no good.
Okay. So the pointing stick is a.
Well, for today, it's on.
Okay. There you go. If you're wondering why Dad's gone back to the pointing stick, it's because his buddy Steve wants to see the pointing stick again. A few other guys have mentioned this before about the pointing stick. But are you happy with your progress so far? Or?
Yeah, it's just that to me, like 5 hours have gone by of working, and it feels like I got nothing done. There's always some snag,
Okay.
part wise.
Okay. Well, that's it for today. Like, comment, subscribe. Dad's been getting a few contacts coming to us. And our kitty is back in the shop after a 2-week hiatus out in the bush, surviving on his own. And we're so happy. It took him 2-3 days to recover. And that's that. Are you happy?
Stranded out there?
Yeah, we can hear our other hound dogs stranded.
This is what the switches are like that I took out of Johanneson's. This is a heater switch. And if you don't have a good contact, the wires will burn and you can burn the whole machine down.
So
see how it gets heated up? This was just wrapped around there, wasn't even plugged in. So then you can see how the wire was starting to burn?
Yeah.
Because it's not making a good contact there. And this was the one off of the interior light that it was already burnt.
Wow. So, pretty dangerous. Have you seen this this bad before, or?
There's a guy in Winnipegosis a couple of years ago come in off the lake and parked, and mind you, didn't have a master switch shut the power off, which should happen at the end of the day, so your battery is not connected.
Yeah.
And they come out in the morning and the whole front end's burned. The Bombardier's burned.
Wow. So when you're doing these switches, are they normally this bad, or?
No, like I put new switches in. It's a bad connection. Usually the screws aren't tight enough on the eye of the wire, and that's what causes the arc.
Okay.
The switch goes, the master switch goes in here, and then it's hooked up your negative cable, so that when you shut it off, there's no power from the battery can go through.
Okay. Is that just a safety feature that you add on, or best practices?
No, it was on all Cat machinery and whatnot, and we couldn't see why it shouldn't be put into these machines.
Okay.
And then if we use 2 batteries, we put the master switch on each side, so you always have a full charged battery in case you run this one down, because they have CD players and radios and everything else.
Yeah.